I asked on Twitter, Blue Sky, Reddit, and Squidboards for your hot takes, and you guys delivered. So today we're going to be going through your spicy hot takes and seeing how they stack up. Alright, let's get the thumbnail one out of the way. One Pod Wonder on Squidboard says, Stingray should return in Splatoon 4. No! Reworked to have much better handling at the cost of its global range and damaging shockwaves. The concept of a special that trades its user's main weapon for a massive wall-piercing laser is incredibly fun, but Nintendo pretty much immediately fumbled the bag with the special in Splatoon 2 by giving it a giant AoE laser while being fired constantly. Add on to the fact that they never limited its range, and it's no wonder why it ended up being so hated. With these two aspects removed, the special could finally enter a spot where it would be loved for its high skill expression and supportive nature. Unsurprisingly, I completely disagree with this take. Even in a nerf state, I don't think Ray should return. Stingray's inherent special design promotes sit back and spam gameplay, and it is something better off left in the older games. I actually think if you want a special with similar traits to Ray to bring back for Splatoon 4, Crab Tank is a great candidate. Crab is a special with a long range of fire, AoE, and can act as a temp anchor for your team while also providing HP and a much healthier special to use and fight. If Nintendo wants to bring back a similar concept, Crab is already doing it but better. I understand that Crab being a healthier version of Ray is in itself a hot take, so leave your own takes on the matter below. Sly Snipey on Squidboard says, Dart is not as bad as people think. Hitting people for 40 damage and then making it known to your team that their hit is awesome to throw out in neutral. If you have frontliners or a long-range tip on your team to capitalize off of it, it can result in an unexpected pick that could shift the game in your team's favor. It also is good that enemies leaving your weapon's range are still vulnerable, which is good to punish smaller positioning mistakes your opponent expects to get away with. Finally, setting it across enemy ink at choke points as a barrier can be great for spotting sharks or flanks. I sorta disagree here. In my personal tier list, it's still bottom 1 sub in my opinion, an opinion that a lot of high and top level players echo. Dart is just way too hard with its wonky aiming reticle, and what do you get for hitting someone? 40 damage in 5 seconds of location. The issue is that the effects of Dart are just so weak that they invalidate this whole take. If you want to finish off opponents from a distance, why not Burst Bomb? If you want location, why not Point Sensor? Not even considering the fact that Sensor and Burst have way better kits they're on compared to Dart. The only thing that's stopping me from disagreeing completely is Rapid Pro Deco, since on that kit, Dart actually feels like a real sub-weapon and is one of the most synergistic kits in the game, but even then, it'd probably be a better weapon if it had Burst. Isaac4 on Squidboard says, Super Jump being able to conceal your jump marker from further away should be implemented as a regular mechanic instead of being exclusive to a primary gear ability. Yes, I completely agree. Stealth Jump should absolutely be an inbuilt mechanic rather than an ability. If you look at Sendu.Inc, like half to 75% of the builds there have Stealth Jump as their shoes ability, and considering there's already like 1 billion utility subs people need to run, plus comeback for frontline / QR weapons, freeing up a main slot would be so freeing and add a lot of diversity to gear building. Zip on Blue Sky says, people will always whine and complain about the stuff that's currently at top 1 to 3 or whatever the meta is. The more you nerf stuff around the game, the more the game is going to genuinely feel worse overall. This is literally why Nintendo never nerfs as much as compared to buffing stuff. Once again, I completely agree with this take. If you look back at past metas, people will always complain about what was top 1 to 3. Just look at Splash and Machine. Those weapons were utterly hated by a lot of people throughout Crab Machine meta, or for something newer, the Mint Decavitator. People are always going to whine and complain about whatever is at the top, no matter how healthy or unhealthy the weapon actually is. As Zip says, the more we nerf stuff based around the game and what's meta, over what actually needs balance adjustments, the game is going to feel worse overall. I personally think that the power level of weapons should go up over time, not down. Hitting all the meta weapons with nerfs just makes the game more unfun to play, which is why I honestly think that 9.0 was one of the worst balance patches in Splatoon 3 history. Good take, and I completely agree. Waffles on Blue Sky says, rollers should not have gotten a wider one-shot radius. Rollers have already a very large hitboxes and don't require too much aim. Mixed with the constant use of Ninja Squid, it creates weapons that are way too forgiving. Plus, Carbon has a burst bomb if it misses anyways. Dynamo's hitbox is fine though. Going to go against the grain here and agree. I think rollers, mainly Roller and Carbon, I think Dynamo Swig and Fling is in need of the buff. One-shot radii were fine, and buffing them wasn't the right way to go when buffing them. I think the issue here with these weapons were always chainable HP, and now that's no longer a thing in the game. These weapons are honestly fine. I don't think these weapons necessarily are unhealthy, nor need emergency nerfs, but they probably shouldn't have been buffed in the first place. You Repeated Expands on Reddit says, Cooler shouldn't be nerfed. Even if it's the most single dominant special in the game, its design makes it actually engaging to play both with and against. Stingray/Ink Armor may not have been in mind while typing this, and it also allows team comps to diversify even if there are select cooler users in the meta. Slapping one on a team allows lesser used options to be more viable. All in all, the perfect top tier special. I sort of agree here. I do think it should be toned back, mainly the special saver and QSJ, but I still think it should stay top 1 special in the game. Cooler has made this game so much more interactive and fun to both play and watch competitively. My issue with Cooler lies solely with the kits it's on. We have only 2 good Cooler weapons and they're both backlines, meaning if you want Cooler, which 99.9% of comps want, you're kind of forced into one of 2 backlines, which kills diversity. I really wish we got like a Dually Squelchers or other midline with Cooler. I think having more good Cooler options in the game would open up comp building a lot more and create the opportunity for some really interesting comps besides seeing Pencil and Heavy added in 99.9% of matches. Please, for the love of God, Nintendo, add third kits. MJ Manila on Twitter says, Turf War is the best mode. No, I completely and utterly disagree. Turf War is by far the worst mode in the game for anyone who isn't level 5. Turf War is great at introducing people to the game and letting them get to learn how to actually play the game, but past level 5, the rank modes are just so much better. Turf War is a mode where you could be winning for the first 2/3 of the match, but because you lose one team fight in the last 30 seconds, you automatically lose. That does not sound like a good game design to me. Sure, the ranked modes have their issue, but with defined scoring systems, the ranked modes actually feel so much better to play, and outside of personal preference, should be played over Turf War any day. Gonna piss a lot of Turf Warriors off with this one. Azurid on Twitter says, Screen is actually really underrated for what it is, and more people should see how it works really well with sharking weapons, and it should be on more sharking weapons in general. And yes, I've been waiting to talk about this for a while now. We've already talked about this on Discord, so I know a bit more of your opinion, but yes, I completely agree. The issues holding back screens are its specials effect, it isn't on the right kits, and the ableism aspect that led to its restrictions in a lot of tournaments, especially high-level tournaments that are streamed. I think if we remove the ableism aspect to it and instead it did 60 damage and we gave it to more sharking weapons like Spiral Roller or Tri-Slosher, the special's reputation would be a lot better than it is now. To add, another issue I feel holding back Screen is that all of the kits it's currently on just have better kits. Outside of maybe Squeezer though, and even then that's debatable, which is why the special sees like no use, especially in high level environments. Oni on Twitter says, Respawn Punisher was made to kill a meta that died nearly 10 years ago and should be removed in Splatoon 4. Yes, absolutely. Respawn Punisher making people play the game less is a stupid concept and makes Chargers, an already hated class, more hated. With Tactical in the meta, we haven't seen much of this ability as of recent, thank God. But in the olden days of Splatoon 3, Respawn Punisher E-Leader was one of the most toxic things you could ever come across, not even counting that the old maps suck. Respawn Punisher is inherently extremely unhealthy and absolutely should be removed. I completely agree with this take. Finally, we have Na, who says every weapon, sub and special included, are good if you know how to use it. I partly agree here. I do think weapons can be good and see results in the proper hands. Just look at some of the comps that win a Lowling, for example, or a Big Swig in Area Cup. But at the same time, we just have a lot of utter trash weapons that can see results if used properly, but don't, because it's not worth putting in the time or effort when there are better options available. The issue here is that there are a lot of just straight up better versions of these weapons for a lot of the weaker options, and because of that they just don't see use. Why use Undercover when you can play Tent? Why use a weapon with Marker when Burst or Sensor provide better utility? And that's all the time I have for today. What did you think of some of these hot takes? Did you agree, or did you think they're as crazy as I did? Make sure to leave a like and subscribe, and I'll see you all next time.